Do the thing.
First of all, I want to say a big thank you to Daniel, to Tanya, all the organizers, because you have thought to put on the very first conference completely devoted to all things Copilot. And not just the kind that we think of, which is like this feature or that feature, but rather than the practitioners who make Copilot real. So that's people who build Copilots, people who govern and drive administration of Copilots, but most importantly, the people who drive Copilot adoption and the users, because this is the only way people in the world are actually going to find value in Copilot is by other people saying, this is interesting. You all should try this. So today I want to close out the day, and actually this is probably better as a closing than an opening, to talk to you about what we're seeing from the Microsoft point of view across the board with people who are trying to drive AI usage in their business across the board. And sometimes that is a co-pilot out of the box, or sometimes it is some sort of an AI agent that they have built in-house. So I'm going to share with you a few things that I think will be interesting to you all. Wait, did I even share that? I enthusiastically, did I share? No. You'd think I know how to share by now. Hang on. I'm just going to share screen, and all of you are going to act like I know what I'm doing. I'm using the browser because I have some version of Teams that's possessed. So let me. All right. Can you see this?
Yes, we can see
Okay.
it.
So all of us are feeling a little bit co-piloty, right? We're like, okay, we kind of get it. We vaguely get it. We're on year 3, by the way. We're on year 3. This is fully in year 3. What's it called? Word Copilot and all those things, Copilot Chat came out February, March of 2023. So we're solidly in the 3rd year of this drama that, has taken over our lives. Once we used to have normal jobs, remember, we never heard of the word Copilot or AI. We didn't care. But for the last 3 years, given that we've been embroiled in the space, all of us are like, all right, all right, all right. It sounds like this thing's here to stay. What does that mean for us? So first, we have to start by making fun of vibe coders, right? As you all know, vibe coders are those people who think you can quickly write any sort of app in any language, doesn't matter, low code, high code, medium code, and it runs in production within 5 minutes, and we don't need software engineers in general at all anymore. It was the dream last year, right? A lot of people randomly came up with this idea. A year later, this is still not going great. It turns out the actual process of building the thing is not as hard as actually putting that thing into production and keeping it in production. We're even getting to the point where people are able to put things into prod, but as people use it, they realize, I'm missing 10 different use cases and now I have a million feature requests and a security issue. Like, this sucks. Like, building a V1, fun. Fixing a V80, not fun, not fun at all. So it's been funny to watch vibe coders. The other thing that's been funny to watch are executives. Okay. I love to make fun of executives. And if some of your executives, I'm apologizing, but not really meaning it. Okay. Because executives are really annoying in the AI-verse. And you all know exactly the kind of executive I'm talking about. They're the ones who experience like some interesting AI demo, right? Because there's always people peddling cool AI demos. This will replace your accountants or something strange. And then they're like, oh my God, wouldn't that be amazing if I could fire all my accountants? And then they go fire all their accountants and say, I can just use ChatGPT to generate all my spreadsheets. We're like, do you think that's what accountants do? Because I don't think you understand jobs if you think someone's job is to generate one thing per day and that's it. Then they fall into this valley of despair where they realize, actually, there's a lot of other parts of the job and no one's doing them and my business is falling apart. Help, help, help. Please be hired back. We see this over and over again, right? We're in this 10th version of the cycle at this point. So it's always entertaining to me that we keep going through this every 3 months over and over. Like, we are so back, it's so over. We're so back, it's over and over. So the analogy I'll give you is we don't need to worry about are we doing AI or not, because all of us are doing AI at this point. So let's walk back through history. We're going to have a few history lessons. I know Zoe and Kevin gave you some history lessons this morning, so I'm going to close out with some other examples. Once upon a time, we used to type on a typewriter. Okay, I didn't type like this, but you get the point. Typewriter, it would go, and if you made a mistake, you'd have to get white out and fix your issues. Does anyone remember this other than me? Or am I just old, right? So typewriters and your typing speed was actually a topic. You used to put it on your resume. You used to put Madonna's typing speed is 30. You should hire her to be a word processor for your company. It was a real thing that I had in my resume in 1995. But now you don't. When was the last time you checked someone's typing speed? Have you ever asked somebody that in the last 20 years? No. You just assume people know how to type. And that is where we're going to be with AI. People are going to assume you know how to use it because it's just integrated into our lives all up. So we don't need to worry so much on do we know how to use AI? Of course you do. You're going to know how to do it because it's going to be kind of in your face. Okay. And the way it's going to be in your face is because it's going to do things for you behind your back, but you also know what's going on. Okay, so the example is spell check. Once upon a time in Word, typing speed 30, I used to make typos, okay, everywhere. And the way I knew I made typos is I would go up to that little review button up there, click spelling and grammar check, yes, and it would go through and highlight word by word and give me options on how to fix it. And to my horror, I was a really horrible speller, and I would have to fix like 30 things after I was done writing a document. Then we moved to an era where these words would all get underlined with the red squiggly by design. It would just happen. I would write, and the things that were spelled wrong would get underlined. I would right click, and it would give me some options, and I'd choose. That was 2000s. Okay. Now we haven't seen a squiggly in a while, right? You type random nonsense, Copilot types random nonsense. It's just kind of fixed for you, automatically fixed in the background. What happened, right? What happened? We used to prompt it. We used to prompt spell check and say, hello, spell check, come to me, do my work. Then spell check used to say, prompt us. We would say, spell check would say, hey, you messed up. We want to fix it. You'd say, yes, you'd have to give it permission, explicit. Now spell check does work for you in the background and you expect it to. Do you want to be disrupted, to be asked? Do you want me to fix your spelling? Of course you want your spelling fixed. Who doesn't want their spelling fixed? So just that transition over the last 30 years of spelling is kind of how we're doing in the AI verse and the agent verse right now, where agents are going to do things for us behind our back because it sees the repetitive behavior of what we do. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Okay. So
Donna,
this is
the chat
the
just asked if you could move the black sharing thing away slowly.
Can you see it?
Not yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Can you see that? I hate that. There's a Teams feature I hate. Okay. Okay. So instead of this special thing, AI is going to be a feature, right? And the products we use rather than a separate thing. So what's going to happen is anything new that's being created will be what we call AI native. And that means that it will have the ability to use AI to do things. Whether it makes sense to use AI all the time, that's up to us. But it will have the ability to do it just by nature of the APIs that we will call to solve certain problems. Now, we don't quite know what those apps or experiences, agents, whatever they are going to be called, look like, what form factor they live on. We don't know. Is it on a watch? Is it on a phone? Is it in our brains? Is it in space? I do not know. None of us know. But we're running all the experiments to see what makes sense. But soon AI native will be expected rather than something that we're all having to stretch our brains around to understand. So let's talk a little bit about how limited AI is today. Okay, everyone's like, oh my God, AI is amazing. It's the best things I've ever done. Like, okay, I graduated engineering school in 2002. This is me, graduation photo. I graduated from University of Michigan in the US. I'm holding something for dear life. What am I holding? Death grip on, Nokia flip phone. Yes, holding a Nokia flip phone for dear life. It was my second year of using this thing. Okay. It could do three things, but I thought I was so powerful because it could do these three things. One, I could make phone calls on the go after 8 o'clock. I didn't actually know that many people to call, given that I lived with my close friends. My family lived 20 miles away, but I could make phone calls after 8 o'clock without going over my minutes. Remember, we used to calculate minutes. Yeah, we had to buy minute packages. Second thing, I could text my friend, where are you at, very slowly to identify where they were located when we're trying to meet at the movies, at the mall. Yes. And the third thing, I could buy ringtones. And all of you laughing over there also bought ringtones. So now, if our phone's on, we're annoyed, right? Imagine buying ringtones, paying money for this. That was a real thing. And of course, beating you at Snake. These were like the four things that I could do with the Nokia flip phone. It It was not the end all be all, but it gave us something new, which was mobility, and that gave us freedom. And that's kind of where we're at with AI right now, where we're saying AI can do three things for us decently well. Okay, so we can chat with AI and get information about any topic in the world, any moment, doesn't matter which AI product, it could be a Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, doesn't matter. Sometimes that information is even accurate. We still deal with a lot of hallucinations. I'm here in Seoul, and I was looking up a great place to take the team for dinner, completely made up at 3 locations. I don't know if they used to be a place or they never were a place. No one knows, but I still have to walk down the street and see if that place exists. So that's the first one. Second one is AI can artifact for you. This means it can create apps, it can create docs, create PowerPoints, videos, images, whatever. It can create things from scratch. This creating artifacts has caused a lot of chaos because people are like, oh my God, if AI can create the Word doc or the PowerPoint or the Excel or the app, are devs even necessary? And I'm like, do you think that was the most important part of your job? Because it wasn't. That was probably the shortest part of your job. The bigger part of your job was figuring out what the heck to build, gathering up all the info and the data to build that thing in the first place, right? So that's the second thing AI can do. And the third thing, AI can automate. And this is for all of the people who never knew Power Automate existed, is very entertaining to watch, okay? So all of these co-work people or like the computer use people are like, oh my God, do you know it opens up a little browser and can go to a website and do stuff for you? I'm like, did you discover automation from first principles in 2026? That's so interesting that it's like you've never done automation and it shows, right? So basically it's like automation supercharged, which is why I can do for you. Fine. We're at three things, but is that the end and be all? Is this what all of this hype is about? Is that why AGI will like kill us all or take our jobs or, whatever it is, the issue, the topic du jour is? And the answer is no, no, we're not even close. We're not even close. We haven't reached the Shazam era of AI. Okay, what is the Shazam era? Do any of you remember Shazam? Oh, look, I'm in a coffee shop. A cool song has come on. Let me get my phone out, push the big blue button, and go like, huh, that's a cool band. I've never heard of them, right? It was a pretty interesting moment, magical moment when we could actually do that. How Shazam came to be, this guy named Chris Baker, he was a intern at Microsoft on the MSN team. He had a very cool music collection that he pirated from Napster. Does anyone know what Napster is? Yes. So he got together with a machine learning expert and said, let me identify patterns in my music and be able to identify it just based on sound, right? So this was old school AI, like pattern matching kind of AI. He had a data set, he used it to create AI. Okay. And he didn't have the form factor yet. The iPhone had not yet come out. Android phone hadn't come out when he got this music library together and the AI model for his music. He did it 5 years before. So by the time Shazam came out, he was prepared. He got his toolbox ready. He got his toolbox, his skill set. He understood what the problem is he's trying to solve really, really well. So when the form factor appeared and it was affordable, he was ready to launch it to action, debut Shazam, called it Enrich, never heard from again, right? So we haven't reached that point with AI. There's no thing in AI where we're like, whoa, couldn't do that. The closest I can tell you is are the coding tools, are like GitHub Copilot CLI, Cloud Code. We're like, wow, you can single shot make a payments app that just runs on a phone with a prompt. That's incredible. Honestly, like I had to go muck around with Shopify for 3 weeks trying to get that to work last decade. And now I can just have my store for my fashion line be online in 10 minutes. And yes, I have to do a bunch of validation to make sure that like people can log in, authenticate this and that, but that's pretty cool. It's a very unique experience. But for the mainstream people, they haven't reached that yet. And that's why we're seeing so much what is the word? Not pushback, but skepticism over the usefulness of AI because there's no mainstream app agent something that people can use. The other one is Waymo. That's actually quite cool, but most people don't have access to it. Okay, so the other story of preparation, right, is Netflix. So Reid Hoffman, genius. Reid Hoffman created PayPal, Netflix, and he's all in on AI. The reason I'm all in on AI is because I think he's smart. I think a lot of the bros in the valley are kind of but he's been around a while. He's been around 30 years. Not like Sam Altman, who I'd never really heard of before, except the Y Combinator thing, or Dario Amodei, who's like some guy. But Reid Hoffman has been around quite a while. And he said, you know what? The future of video watching should be on a screen. It shouldn't be a disc that you get from somewhere. You should be able to choose it right away. When he came up with this idea, internet streaming was not great. It was in 1998. If you remember internet stream, we were using dial-up. Can you imagine watching Netflix on dial-up? No. So what he did was prepare and gather the customer base. Okay. So understand the use case, gather the customer base, and prepare. So they got 1 million discs and they built up a catalog on Netflix.com, got a bunch of people to sign up for it. The date, do you know today is Netflix's birthday actually in 1998? Today was the day it was born. And I just saw on Twitter from the original founders, they were like, by morning, a bunch of signups had happened. By nighttime, we had so many orders, we were out of envelopes and we're at Office Depot. Like imagine buying envelopes at Office Depot and putting a Netflix sticker on them to mail to people's houses. Because people just didn't want to go to Blockbuster and stand in line. What they wanted was the movie they chose to arrive at their house 2 days later. But it took 10 years for Netflix to be streaming, right? And again, until internet speeds got good, they really couldn't do it. But Netflix had the first mover advantage by a lot because they had the customer base all lined up and they had the catalog from the very beginning. So it took a very long time for mobile, for cloud to become our everything. It took 10 years for mobile to be our boarding pass, your wallet, your primary source of info. 10 years or more, right? And it didn't happen until people like you got involved and said, I have an interesting use case. This thing is annoying to print out my boarding pass and carry it with me. It's annoying to carry my credit cards with me. Can this device do it? And then it took geniuses like you all to say, okay, what does that payment API look like? What does the airlines API look like? And how can we put it on a device, right? So we needed people like you to understand the use cases, gather the data, and then actually do the work. We're not there yet in the AI verse. And that's why so many people are skeptical of AI. Okay, so the thing I've been learning from doing these agent cons, we're on city number 64. Okay, so 64 cities out of 100. Yes. And I've seen many of you at these cities. So I'll tell you, the big thing is we can't be designing AI systems the way we design human behavior. Okay. If it's 1998 and I want to buy a cup of coffee, I would go up to you and say, hi, Daniel, I see you have a coffee stand. Can I have a cup of coffee? You're like, yes, that's €1, Donna. And I would give him €1. He would give me a cup of coffee. Cool. I saw the transaction. Now, if I was in 2026, today I want to buy a cup of coffee. Daniel, for some reason, still running a coffee cart. Thank you, Daniel. I would say, Daniel, can I have a cup of coffee? He's like, yes, that's €6, inflation. And he would give me a device, right? That is his cash register. And I would give him my device, a phone that is my wallet. Device tap, and the money transaction has happened. Now, the convenience has gone up because I didn't have to find money. He doesn't need a cash box. The same input and output happened, just how it was done is different. If I was trying to reproduce this with AI today, the way we're trying to do with AI, step by step, a big robotic arm would reach into my wallet, get out €6 and give it to Daniel and put it into his robotic arm would open a cash box. This is not how things work. That would be a weird way to do it. It would be a worse way. So trying to replace human behavior with AI doesn't make any sense, right? Instead, it's important to put some guardrails in place so that we can have AI behave natively to AI with guardrails watching over it. Everyone's like, oh, human in the loop, human in the loop. I'm like, no, it's not going to be how you think. There's nobody sitting at a credit card company monitoring every one of your transactions. That's not happening. Instead, what's happening is they put a smart AI system 20 years ago in to track, hey, Donna is today she bought a cup of coffee. Today she bought something she didn't need from a shop. She also bought wine. She got a pizza. This sounds like Donna. If tomorrow I go buy like sports tickets, they'll think I've lost my mind and I'll get a fraud alert. Right? So it's the patterns of behavior, and we have trained technology to identify that. That's what we're going to have to do with AI governance and guardrails, identify patterns of behaviors and anomalies, flag them. Right? So instead of focusing on step by step of AI, we have to think about what is the input that we want, right? What is the input we have? What are we trying to do? And what is the expected output? We control the input, we control the output. We have this data, this desire, we want this output. The AI magic, air quotes, how AI does it, not our business. We put guardrails so it doesn't go off the rails and publish things you don't want to twitter.com. But in general, how AI works is not your business. It's like right now, you're sitting here watching this on Teams. How does Teams work? What language is it written in? How many, events is it firing per second? Who cares? Does not affect you. Doesn't affect me. All you know is it works. If it doesn't work, you'll know because you'll get an error message, right? So we have to think about that level of abstraction. We have to take our thinking up a level of abstraction and say how the machine works is beyond us. We don't need to obsess over it. Instead, we have to think about how we guardrail it better. So if it doesn't do its job, we can debug it better. Okay, so to do this, we're starting to move our AI products from chat UX to collaborator UX, right? You're starting to see this in the M365 tool set. You're starting to see, you collaborate with Cowork, right? Yeah, with M365 Copilot Cowork. You're like, hey, work with me to write these documents, send it for review by these people, and bring me this kind of feedback. That is coworker, right? Coworker UX, collaborator UX. This is different than chat UX that we've been used to for the past few years. Because soon you can trust that collaborator to work on its own once it's proven itself, obviously not on day one. So as we design these agents, most important rule of agent design, and I'll say it again, the mistake I made all last year in 2025 was trying to have AI do things the way I would do them. That makes no sense. Have AI be natively AI. And that means use AI for things humans cannot do. That is things like monitor every line of code. Right now, GitHub Copilot CLI generates me thousands of lines of code. Am I going to review each one? Of course not. I don't have time for this. Instead, what I will do is spend the majority of my time on the specifications and the use cases. It must match all of these use cases, then validate, did it do all those use cases, yes or no? And then I find a bunch of issues in the inputs and the outputs, right? And I validate the instructions again and again and again. I validate the outputs over and over and over. My life is spent on inputs and outputs, not on the nitty gritty of the how. So when people are designing agents today, and this I find very annoying, they fixate on this. I'm going to show you. They're like, I'm going to replace person one. My agent's going to replace person two. I'm like, no, you're not. I don't think you understand how people work because agents and people are fundamentally different. That's why I don't like agent teammate. I'm like, ish, right? Ish. It's an interesting way of thinking about it, but I also want to understand that agent teammate does not behave like a person. So imagine an example where you want to onboard a new piece of software to your company. All right, what's going to happen? It's going to go to IT first. IT is going to go look at the piece of software and be like, is this malware that Donna's come up with or not? No, it seems real. Okay, fine. Then it has to go to compliance, right? Someone in compliance who will say, yeah, we, Microsoft or whatever company are allowed to use software from this. They're not like super open source. They're not that sketchy. We're able to use it. Go ahead and buy it for a year. Then someone at finance is allowed to go and actually make the purchase. So how an agent works will be, it will do one task from IT, two tasks from compliance, and like two different tasks from finance. So this agent, software procurement agent, will work across people, their workflow, rather than taking this job or that job. Because one agent is never going to do all the jobs one person does, all the tasks, because so much of it is like, hey, getting coffee, talking to this person, being like, oh, did you read that news? So interesting. No, that's like most of the job is being aware of what goes on in the business, right? The actual tasks can be done with agents. And again, they're not going to do them like a human one at a time. They're going to do them across the board. The drama, and there's drama here, is in step 4 of the agent workflow. So steps 1, 2, and 3 are great. Let me walk you through steps. The first agent I was asked to build at Microsoft years ago, this 3 years, oh my gosh, was social media agent for the accessibility team, which was the accessibility tech team. I used to lead that back in the day. We want to do social media posts for this thing for International People with Disabilities Day for 30 days. We needed visual assets, font captions, and we need to post on Twitter and Instagram. I'm like, TikTok, kill that. No, I don't know how to do it. So the first thing I did was go talk to the team and say, you need to corral your data. Your data is disarray all over. Find the brand assets of our customers and people who work here who gave you permission to use them, put them in a SharePoint. That's all I'm asking you. Okay. Then come to me with past campaigns we have done or other people have done that you liked, the kinds of things. So I get a feel. Then come up with some ideas for this month. Like, what day is neurodiversity Monday? What day is like limited mobility Friday? Like, Mouseless Wednesday. Like, what are some of the things you're trying to do? And then come up with the calendar of stuff going on in the world so we're not really culturally insensitive. So once we have the data, then we're in agent shopping or agent building mode. What do we want to use, right? Is it something super basic like M365? Or is it, hey, Copilot Studio so we can share with our entire org? Or is it something like you want an app, so you want to use Foundry? We settled on Copilot Studio only because they wanted to be able to work with the team rather than just solo. And Foundry was like a bit too much overkill. So we said, okay, cool, Copilot Studio. So we gave the AI agent instructions and guardrails. Instructions, you're an agent that creates fun social media captions for International People with Disability Month. And here are the kinds of things that you're going to be talking about. Authentication. Whose authentication do they have? Mine? Of course not. The social media manager who usually posts to Sprinkler? Yes. Do they have the authorization to actually post? Of course not. That would be ridiculous, right? And then the instructions, stay away from political topics, and then all the responsible AI red teaming business, like do not generate images, only do captions. So this part, this agents, AI, and guardrails part, this took forever. Honestly, it took forever because we didn't know what we didn't know at the time. And instead of us fixing on how is the agent doing this, we would fixate on how can we make the instruction set better. It's easier now, it's much easier now, but it's still very annoying because one line of instruction set with the model change can totally throw your thing into disarray. And then this human in the loop part where we had the social media manager, her name was Michelle. She babysat the agents and watched it work like every day, like, okay, how's my caption? Is it good, bad? And then nowadays we would use new governance tools to see how many times do we like the output or not, or this or that. So at the end of it, we realized we're not in close to done because then the events team's like, hey, the Ability Summit, we really want to have this agent be doing stuff for us and doing real life captions of pictures from the event. We're like, ooh, how do you pass data from that to here? I don't know. Whose authentication do we use? Whose authorization? Drama, right? Then what if the agent's not good? How do you cancel it? You have to delete it. Don't keep it forever, right? Everyone likes to keep assets forever. And then what happens if Michelle gets promoted? Who inherits the agent? Not Donna, right? Who inherits the agent? So this is my agent boss workflow. And this is what I'm going around the world talking to people about. All the drama will be here, right? The second page is where the drama happens. Everyone thinks building the agent is the hard part. I'm like, my friends, that is the least hard part. Getting your data in order will be hard. And this last page will take much longer than you think because that is agentic design. So I spend a lot of time on planes, and the people I'd really like to talk to are pilots, not co-pilots, pilots, because we fundamentally don't, I, for example, didn't understand everything a pilot did. I thought pilot's job is to fly the plane. In fact, that is 1/100th of their job. Pilot gets to the airport 4 hours before their flight. They actually go walk around outside of the plane, see like which plane it is, which model, etc. They go meet the ground crew, they meet the air traffic people, they meet the temperature people, the flight attendants, the cleaning staff, everything. They understand what's going to happen. They understand if we have Wi-Fi or not. They understand turbulence. They make a game plan. Basically, they're the general contractor, the quarterback, analogy du jour of the flight. And their job is to manage the flight. They are the agent boss of the flight. They are flight boss. So when the plane takes off, the actual plane flies itself. And it has for a long time just because of safety. When something goes wrong, that's when the pilot's hands go back on the wheel and they're like, no, no, plane, don't do that. That's weird. I'm going to take this over. We lost an engine. We're going to land in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which happened to me, by the way. That's when the pilot takes over. But are they involved in the nitty gritty of every single thing the plane does and why and this and that? They're keeping an eye on it, but they're not sitting there micromanaging it, trying to overrule it constantly because they understand that they're a level of abstraction where their job is to manage the system rather than manage the task. So that's kind of where we're at with the AI verse. If you're an AI user and you're just trying to figure out what is a use case, a basic one is snoop on yourself, honestly. Go look yourself up. Be like, tell me about Donna Sarkar. What would I hire her for? She sucks. And see what AI recommends because this is how people are going to find you in the future. Then go figure out where you stack up in your industry. Like, would I hire her for this kind of job or that kind of job? Who else would I hire? Who are some other people? And then once you get past that, then and you actually have real data, go build a customer service agent or a sales agent. But you need good data for those things. And again, they should be helping the people who do the job, not trying to replace them. Okay. So if you're an executive, apologies for making fun of you earlier, but there are 5 things that you need to be doing. And this is basically for everyone. 1, there's IQ. EQ, social quotient, and now there's a new thing called AI quotient. This is how competent are you at AI? Because like typing speed, people are going to assume that you have that. Right? AI adoption must be top down. You can't say, hey, you should do AI, and you don't show your use cases. Because if you don't, your colleagues are going to be terrified. They're going to be fired or replaced because they use AI. You need to send one metric per quarter because if you're not tracking, you're not really having impact. And then the demo days that you have to kick off with you first. You show your use cases, your scenarios, and how you're using it in your work. And instead of constantly talking about reducing headcount, which every CEO in the world insists on doing, start talking about the new formally impossible things you can now do. AI has a reliability and a trust problem, but it also has a messaging problem because we fixate on all of the things that's taking away from us. We're not talking enough about all of the doors that it will open. So I have homework for everyone, obviously. My team is working with the global skilling team at Microsoft. They have created a new thing called AI Skills Navigator. Okay, AI Skills Navigator is set up to help you learn AI no matter where in the world you might be, what level you're at. So, for example, and what kind of learner you are. I think this one's the most interesting. So, neurodivergent, dyslexic. What I will say in Skills Navigator is say my learning style is video with a transcript and I am currently a software engineer learning AI security. So I'll choose my job, choose the topic of area, and choose the style I want to learn, and I'll get a custom playlist for it. Our team is aggressively creating content for these playlists. So if you're finding the playlist kind of, light right now, that's okay because we are aggressively creating content and also curating content that we find in the world. And if you think you've got some really good content that you'd like to share as part of the playlist, hit me up because we're always looking for really good content. So that is what I have for you today. I just want to give a huge shout out to Daniel, Tanya, Izzy, all of you organizers of the CoCoCo, because this is a total and utter labor of love. And I'm so, so grateful to have been a part of it. Let me go back to here and stop sharing. There you are. Thank you all so much.